Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder. Today, Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp just filed a major merger agreement, and I am spotting a significant earnout structure that could reshape future ownership. Quick note, this is not financial advice, just my take on public filings for educational purposes. Get ready, because this deal has a fascinating earnout component that could dramatically change how much stock initial shareholders actually get to keep. Alright, let us jump right into this Form 8K filing from Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp. So what we have here is a report detailing a significant business combination, essentially a merger. Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp, which is a SPAC or a special purpose acquisition company, is merging with a company called Tigerless Health Incorporated. Think of it like Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp is a company with money in the bank, looking to buy another operating business to take it public. That operating business is Tigerless Health. This merger agreement was officially signed on the 17th of April 2026. The whole deal involves a few moving parts and a new company that will be created called Pubco. Tigerless Health will merge into one of Pubco's subsidiaries, and then Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp will merge into another one of Pubco's subsidiaries. The end goal is that both Tigerless Health and Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp will become part of Pubco, and the people who own shares in Tigerless and Piermont will become shareholders in this new Pubco. Now, Tigerless Health, the company being acquired, was founded back in 2018 and is based in New York City. They are described as an Insurtech company, which means they use technology to improve how people access and manage insurance. They aim to make insurance simpler and more understandable, especially for consumers. The entire transaction, called the mergers, is expected to wrap up in the latter half of 2026, pending approvals from the shareholders of both Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp and Tigerless Health, along with a few other conditions. Let's talk about what people get. At the end of this merger, existing Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp shareholders will get shares in the new Pubco. The exact number of shares depends on whether any Piermont shareholders decide to cash out their investment. For the Tigerless Health shareholders, their existing shares will be exchanged for shares of Pubco's Class A and Class B common stock. It looks like Tigerless shareholders will end up with a significant chunk, around 560,000 shares of Pubco Class A common stock and 24,000 shares of Pubco Class B common stock. Assuming no one cashes out, we'll get about 59,528,86 shares of Pubco Class A common stock. Now here is an interesting split. Pubco's Class A common stock generally does not have voting rights, while the Class B stock does. This is a common structure where founders or earlier investors retain more control while still offering shares to the public. The Class B shares can be converted into Class A shares at any time. The plan is to list the publicly traded Pubco Class A shares on NASDAQ. This is where things get really interesting. Beyond the initial payout from the merger, some of the pre-merger shareholders of Tigerless Health will receive what is called earn out consideration. This means they could get more shares of Pubco Class A common stock after the merger, but only if the combined company hits certain performance targets over the next 4 years. This earn out is structured over 4 annual periods. Imagine if they close the deal in 2026, the first earn out period would be for the fiscal year ending the 31st of December, 2026. The maximum total value of these earn-out shares is capped at $100 million, with no more than $25 million in value achievable in any single year. So how do these Tigerless shareholders earn these extra shares? They need to hit one of 3 tests each year. The first is the revenue or policyholder growth test, requiring more than 30% year-over-year growth in either overall company revenue or revenue from active policyholders. The second is the gross margin improvement test, needing a more than 3% increase in the company's gross profit margin year over year. And the third is the systems integration test, which requires 60% integration of Tigerless systems into Pubco's core services, along with measurable improvements in efficiency like faster processing or lower costs. If any one of these tests is met in a given year, the earn-out recipients get shares of Pubco Class A stock valued at $25 million. The actual number of shares is calculated using the average stock price over a 10-day period before the measurement date. The measurement date for this earn-out is when Pubco's audited financial statements for that year are approved or filed with the CC. If an earn-out is earned, the shares are supposed to be issued within 10 business days after that measurement date. A crucial point here is that each year's earn-out is tested independently. This means if they miss a target one year, they cannot carry that over to the next. Even if they meet multiple targets in a single year, the maximum payout for that year is still capped at that $25 million value. Like most merger agreements, this one is filled with assurances called representations and warranties. Essentially, both Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp and Tigerless Health are making promises about the state of their businesses, covering everything from their legal standing and finances to their contracts and intellectual property. These are important because they lay out what each party is agreeing to and what happens if those promises turn out to be untrue. These promises, however, do not survive the closing of the deal. The agreement also includes covenants, which are basically commitments to do certain things or not do certain things until the merger is completed. This includes cooperating on filing necessary paperwork with the SEC, like a registration statement and a proxy statement. They also agreed to try and get the Pubco class of stock listed on NASDAQ. For the deal to actually go through, several conditions must be met. These are called conditions to closing. Both sides need the deal to be approved by the shareholders. There should be no government orders preventing the merger. The Pubco class of common stock must be approved for listing on NASDAQ, and the SEC needs to declare the registration statement effective, meaning they have reviewed it and found it acceptable. Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp's obligation to close also depends on Tigerless Health's representations and warranties being accurate, Tigerless fulfilling its promises, and no major negative events happening to Tigerless's business before closing. Tigerless also needs to deliver some documents like officers' certificates and specific agreements. On the flip side, Tigerless Health's obligation to close depends on Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp's representations and warranties being accurate, Piermont fulfilling its promises, and no major negative events happening to Piermont's business. Piermont also needs to deliver similar documents. Importantly, either company can choose to waive certain issues or conditions if they decide it is in their best interest. This offers some flexibility if minor problems arise. Now, what happens if things go wrong? The merger agreement can be terminated in a few ways. Both parties can agree to call it off. If the deal is not completed by a certain date, currently the 30th of September 2026, but extendable to the 31st of December 2026, either party can terminate. This deadline is extended if the CC has not declared the registration statement effective. If a government entity issues a final order that permanently blocks the merger, either party can walk away. If one party significantly breaches the agreement or their promises and cannot fix it within 30 days, the other party can terminate. And finally, if Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp's shareholders do not approve the deal, either party can terminate. There are also some additional agreements being put in place. Certain shareholders of Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp and Tigerless Health will enter into lockup agreements. These agreements typically restrict these shareholders from selling their shares for a certain period after the merger is completed, helping to stabilize the stock price. The insiders of Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp will sign support agreements. This means they promise to vote their shares in favor of the merger and against any competing offers. They also agree not to redeem their shares for cash from Piermont's trust account, which is money set aside by the SPAC. The companies are also required to try and secure what is called a PIPE financing, which stands for private investment in public equity. This means they need to find private investors to put in at least $5 million, likely right around the time the merger closes. The terms haven't been determined yet, and there is no guarantee they will secure this financing, which is a bit of a risk factor. Now, beyond the merger agreement itself, there is a press release attached to this filing. It is dated the 20th of April 2026, a few days after the merger agreement was signed. This is how the companies are officially announcing this deal to the public. As with most filings like this, there is a section on forward-looking statements. This is basically a legal warning that the company's actual results might be different from what they are predicting. They mention that factors like the failure to complete the merger or issues with the stock listing could lead to different outcomes. This is standard boilerplate. But it is always good to remember that future projections are not guarantees. The filing also indicates where more information will be available. A registration statement on Form S-4 will be filed with the SEC, which will include a prospectus and Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp's proxy statement. This document will contain much more detailed information for investors and shareholders. Finally, under the Exhibit section, they list the actual merger agreement as Exhibit 2.1 and the press release as Exhibit 99.1. These are the core pieces of information that detail the deal. So what is my take on all of this? The structure of this deal is quite common for SPAC mergers. Tigerless Health, the operating company, gets to go public. Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp, the SPAC, fulfills its purpose. The key element to watch here is that earn-out structure. If Tigerless Health can consistently hit those growth and integration targets, their original shareholders could end up with significantly more of the public company than initially outlined. This performance-based earn Out is designed to align the interests of the original Tigerless owners with the success of the combined entity post-merger. It creates a scenario where early investors are incentivized to drive real business growth to realize their full potential ownership value. The risk for Piermont Valley Acquisition Corp shareholders is that if the earn-out targets are met, it means more shares are issued, potentially diluting existing shareholders. However, the flip side is that meeting those targets implies a healthy, growing business, which is generally good for stock value. That is my take. Stay decoded. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.